Good evening, citizens, comic book lovers everywhere. This is middle-aged cartoonist Ken Bailey, owner, creator, artist, writer, and chief bottle washer of the female Superwoman comic book series, The Mighty Energygirl. We are continuing in the tradition that back in the 1930s was set when there was a newspaper strike and one of the editors of a major metropolitan newspaper read the comic books over the air so that favorite viewers would not miss a single event in the life of their hero friends. So, this is part 2 from Energygirl number 31, Stranger in a Strange Town. It's not really the town that is strange, but this continues the tradition that a superhero never gets a vacation. For those of you that missed part 1, Energygirl, otherwise known as Ellen Peabody, and her husband Stan Peabody, mortal man, are visiting a comic book convention in the fictional city of Metrovillis, Illinois, where they have a giant statue of the fictional superhero Super Wonderful Man. Unfortunately for us, there's our bio page. In page 1, we saw our heroes drive to Metrovillis. They are exulting in the fact that in a city that for this weekend, during the comic book convention, they are genuine heroes pretending to be civilians in a town full of civilians pretending to be heroes. The perfect place to hide if you do not want to be disturbed and just have a nice civilian vacation. Or is it? We see the Superwoman Energygirl as Ellen Peabody interacting with other heroes who aren't. We see a crackpot scientist, a genuine bad guy, pretending to be a crackpot scientist. Except he's real. The crackpot scientist has a machine that determines that there is a genuine superwoman among them. He had been planning to secretly animate the giant statue in the town square to step on people. Now he wants it to step on just one person to bring her out of hiding. Shock! Just as Ellen says, I think we've gotten away with having a genuine civilian vacation, in the background is heard, must kill Energygirl. A battle ensues. Ellen prepares for battle. She wins the first round and then loses the second round. Must kill Energygirl. I think this is where we left off, where after trying to reason with the statue come to life, and then trying to intimidate him with her rather large musculature, the statue throws her to the ground. He only knows one sentence. Guess what? Ellen angrily says, I must be out of my mind. I've been trying to reason with the machine. Looking around the town square, she spies a large sedan and says, whoever owns this car, the city of Fairview, her hometown, now owes you a new one. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, down on the ground, mortal husband Stan has been spotted by two of the other civilians dressed as superheroes. One of them says, that's him. That's the guy that was with the woman who became Energygirl. E-Girl hates being forced to change into her super self in public and reveal her secret identity, but this time she had no choice. All right, pal, are you a superhero too? Neither Stan nor Ellen are big fans of lying, so they try to answer truthfully, but in a way that throws people off the track. I'm a mortal. You're a mortal, huh? Well, then who are you? Her trainer? Her manager? Her husband? Ladies, you just have to understand. I was just as surprised by all this happening as they aren't listening anymore. Instead, they're screaming because down from the sky comes the disabled statue having been clocked by a flying car. Well, by now the jig is up and any hopes of a civilian vacation are dashed, so Ellen climbs atop the down statue, Energygirl that is, and says, take your pictures quickly, folks. I'm scanning the crowd of you right now, looking for someone. This situation was not the fault of Super Wonderful Man. It was the fault of a single individual who I have just spotted, so if you will excuse me, please. Cornering the bald crackpot scientist, and by the way, not all crackpot scientists are bald, but this one is. Okay, now there's only one little detail left to clean up. Look, fella, I know it's you. Your animated statue wasn't intimidated much by my muscles, but let's give you a turn. Oh, great dancing, you know who. Now, Energygirl cannot fly, but she can leap. And so she leaps through the air and says, go ahead and run, coward. You cannot escape from old Muscle Maid. One of the civilians turned superheroes, taking pictures with his cell phone, says, Muscle Maid? I thought her name was Energygirl. His wife says, you are getting this down on film, aren't you, Edward? He says, leave me alone. I'll kill everybody. I swear. Be careful what you swear. Because in a minute, Ellen's got him by the neck and is saying, you disable that walkie-talkie chatty statue right now, bald, stereotypical mad scientist dude, or I'm going to perhaps, knock your skull clear to Paducah. Can she do that? Remember, nobody in this area of the country has ever heard of Energygirl. Till now. Turning to him, she says, you're going to die, bald man, and all your henchmen. Inside, she says, yeah, someday. We're all going to die someday. She didn't say she was going to do it or that it was going to happen now, but nonetheless, he goes, no, I surrender. I surrender. Take the control. Meanwhile, in the background, I forgot to tell you, the citizens are getting wise. That's not an act. That's not special effects. She really did KO that statue. That's a real superwoman. Pretty soon a crowd is gathering. Look, a real, genuine superhero among us. Look at those muscles. One of the other civilians who is in the area says, I'm a pro bodybuilder, and even I don't look like that. Our bad guy just turns to her and goes, swine. Ellen says, come on, folks. Nothing more to see here. Let's get back to the festival, okay? Meanwhile, the questions are coming from the crowd fast and furious. Energygirl, who are you? Where do you come from? Our bad guy is still just going, pig. Brilliant in animating statues, not so good in vocabulary. Anyway, Ellen is figuring out how to answer when all of a sudden, great, Hammond, Indiana. Ellen likes music. For a car is careening toward the crowd, out of control. Tossing the bad guy at the nearest cop, she says, officer, here you go. This is the guy that animated the statue. I need to go. It's coming right at us, screams another civilian who is dressed as a superhero. Jumping at the car, Ellen stops it with her bare hands. Both airbags go off. Whoomp, whoomp. Stan, meanwhile, her husband, is caught up to her and says, what are you doing? You can't do that out of uniform. In this universe, you cannot exercise superpower in public unless you have your official uniform on. I'm in my uniform, says Ellen. But since they're in a community surrounded by people in super uniforms, Stan says, yeah, but in this town, that's a civilian uniform. Ellen goes, whatever. What's your point? Meanwhile, citizens are still going, these aren't special effects. That was real. Great Scott. Or whatever. I hope that's not copyrighted. Maybe it is. Anyway, great something or other. Great, genuine, innocent expletive. Ma'am, are you all right? Says Energygirl to the stunned driver. My car, it suddenly accelerated out of control. And now my cell phone is ringing. Pretty good sound effects. I would have mowed down the crowd if not for you. Meanwhile, worried because they'll never be able to become civilians again, the more people that see her, Stan says, Ellen, we have to amscray. One of those superheroes of them over there stopped that car with their bare hands. Meanwhile, off screen, the little boy's dad says, that's impossible. They're just paid actors in costumes. Continuing to worry, Stan says, Energygirl, come on. Every second you remain in public, people notice you. They're asking questions. And our chances of you resuming being an anonymous citizen again are becoming nil. Ellen realizes that it's already too late. Says, well, Stan, so the cat's out of the bag. Again. So what? But then how do you explain me, a mortal husband, hanging around with a superhero? Oh, don't worry, husband of mine. I'll think of something. I'm tired of these games. Let's just be ourselves. I'll cover for you. Let's go. She turns and strolls toward the crowd. Hey, is everybody okay? The two ladies who had met Stan earlier come rushing up to the genuine superwoman and say, a real, live superwoman, just look at you. Look at those muscles. Look at that figure. Look at that skin and that strength. Oh, we'd give anything if we could look like that. Ellen says, ladies, believe you me, there are days I'd give anything if I could look like you. In other words, if I could just be a normal, average civilian. One of the adoring citizens says, Energygirl, can we watch you fly away? I'm sorry, I don't fly. I'm walking. You're walking? There goes my cell phone. Oh, no. More good sound effects. You didn't drive here in some sort of super e-car? Well, actually, I do have an e-car. I left it at home. I drove it right over here. Actually, I drove here in my... Oh, no. She's about to give away her super identity. So instead of describing her car, she says, I drove over here in a big hurry when I realized that statue was going to come to life at the hands of a crackpot scientist. but how to explain Stan. So Ellen goes, ladies, please, tell your friend to stay further back. I don't want any mortals getting hurt here in Metro Villas. It would ruin the celebration. And are you two with that guy? I have something to say to him. Ooh, no, we actually thought he was with you. Turning to Stan, Ellen, as Energygirl, points to him and says, do I know you, citizen? Faking embarrassment, Stan says, do you? I mean, I didn't mean any harm, ma'am. I'm sorry if you caught me staring, but it doesn't sound like I know you at all. Carry on, citizens. Well, say the two onlookers, I guess we were wrong. Energygirl's husband or manager you are not. Stan answers truthfully, well, I guess in my dreams, I guess I just got rebuked for staring. And he thinks, phew, saved by Ellen's quick mind, thank goodness. However, walking over to the downed statue, Ellen finds the mayor of Metrovillas now on the scene and says, I'm so sorry about your town statue, Mayor. I'm sure technicians can locate and remove the receiving unit for the animation that crackpot scientist secretly installed. I'm just glad the statue didn't shatter when it hit the ground. The mayor answers, why, of course it didn't shatter. Underneath that paint, the statue's made of bronze. And Ellen says, well, that explains it. Even under a savage impact like that, a man of bronze cannot be destroyed. That's what we call an Easter egg. Those of you who are long-time readers of adventure stories will know the inside story there. But Ellen says, but what can be done? The statue is still damaged. I can set it back up, but it's still going to need major repairs. But in the background, a police car and a van with speakers are now touring the downtown area, and the speaker says, your attention, please. Please clear the downtown square temporarily by the order of the Metro Villas City Council. Come on, people, let's go. Let's clear the square. We better do as they say. Stan says, Ellen, do you know what's about to happen? No, but we've got to obey the law. One of the other civilians points and says, hey, look, up in the sky. Hey, you can't say that here. Another inside joke. With a great whooshing sound, a figure moving too fast to be seen swirls around. Ellen's hair flies, and she says, stay back, people. If that's who I think it is, you are perfectly safe. The air stills, and Stan looks over at the town square and says, hey, look in the town square. And Ellen says, well, how about that? Fancy him showing up. And he's got everything fixed. How cool. The statue is up, it is back in place, and it is completely repaired. Looking at it, Stan says, well, he's back. The statue is restored. That big guy out east, he does a fantastic job. And Ellen says, yeah, the statue looks just as good as new. But I didn't get to meet the big guy. He was moving too fast, and now he's gone. Oh, well, just another day in the life of the mighty Energygirl. We usually have a couple extra pages at the end. This one shows how the character is drawn, and this is another one that shows how a typical page is created. It takes our good old cartoonist about 3 hours for each page to go from start to finish. We close with our back cover. I have it here saying, you need to read this book. More than that, if any of you are of a mind to do so, I'm hoping you will find, by experimenting yourself, how much fun it is, both in writing and drawing, to tell stories via the medium of graphic novels, sequential artwork, and yes, good old comic books. This is middle-aged cartoonist and the mighty Energygirl signing off. Have a good evening, citizens.